it was the separation of my 10-year relationship that sort of led me on that self-education, self-development path.
You know, you go through life, but you are searching for like the people that are on your level.
Majority of the time, the people that you meet along the way will like welcome you with open arms.
Everybody can find those people. The reason somebody chooses to start traveling is usually one of the things that has had the biggest impact on them.
Through my own challenges with mental health, I realised that one thing that's really important to me is actually helping other people. And I was like, how could I apply compounding interest to people's lives?
Okay, I do apologise. I think we're probably both a little bit sick from the partying. Okay, so welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I suppose to start with, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell me and the audience really who you are, kind of what you're about, and I'll say also the best place that you feel like you've been in the world.
Okay, cool. So I'm Arthur Madx Brown. I was born in England, lived there till I was 9 and moved to Australia, and have been there for 21 years. What I'm about is helping people overcome mental health challenges through adventure, community and education. The way I look at it is I've had my own personal struggles and challenges, and one thing that's really important for me is that other people don't have those same experiences as I did. And the things that helped me were going on adventures, having a really good community around me, but also learning and teaching other people as well. So having that teacher-learn relationship. And that's what I'm trying to do. I was in finance for 11 years, and I hated it. I was a truck driver for the last year before I started traveling, and now I'm building a business which hosts retreats and trips around the world. UK based, it will be in Australia as well.
And then mental
next year.
Focused, right?
Mental health focused, absolutely. So well-being, wellness, mental health, it's really about just educating people.
Is this top you've got on now?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Just another moment. Okay, so tell me then, what was the kind of point? What made you come up with your idea of just another moment?
It started 5 years ago. I was inspired by a video. It was a solo trek to the South Pole. First ever French explorer to go solo, unassisted, unsupported to the South Pole. Wow. He was 26, and I was like, that's awesome. I'm inspired. I want to do that. And so the initial concept was a dream facilitation business where people would have their dreams and I would help put it together so they can achieve it. And then I was like, well, man, the selfish part of that was because I wanted to be able to achieve my dream. So I looked at it and I was like, I don't know how that would work. And then through my own challenges with mental health, I realized that one thing that's really important to me is actually helping other people. And it was the separation of my 10-year relationship that sort of led me on that self-education, self-development path, and travel. So
you found a lot of benefits from solo travel. You found a lot of benefits from seeing the world. But is there one place that would stand out to you?
Vietnam. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were to give us one, maybe a story of or an experience you had that made you see the world differently.
Yeah, I think I've been 3 times. The first time was 2013, so it wasn't super touristy. It was quite relaxed and underdeveloped. And I went 2018 and again 2023.
Yeah.
And I've seen the development over the years, and it's becoming a really good tourist spot. But I think I went last year and volunteered teaching English, and I think that was one thing that really opened my eyes up to how lucky we are in like the Western world, Western culture, that we don't have to struggle for this. Like some of these kids were homeless and walking to the school, and they'll be walking 2 hours to get to school and 2 hours back.
And people these days are complaining 15 minutes to a short walk to the bus stop or something.
Exactly.
These kids are they're going significantly out of their way, but that's their norm, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think like being able to teach them English or like try to teach them English was like a really cool experience. But the other part to that was it was meeting a community of other volunteers which were there to work in kindergarten or work at the hospital and at the school as well. And that's where the community aspect for me really hit home.
So the idea behind meeting people that are like-minded to you,
Yeah,
like I always get like I always come back to this because I love the idea that you go through life, but you are searching for like the people that are on your level. And when you find those people, that's kind of it's it's something I think everybody should strive for
yeah,
because finding those people really just opens your mind. It gives you this opportunity to kind of almost feel like you've made it. And I think everybody can find those people. Um, it's just about where it is. And I think with a lot of the time actually going and solo traveling, you you see many different types of people. So you've got a
yeah,
higher opportunity
yeah.
of finding the people that fit you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what I say to people around solo travel is actually really social travel.
Mm.
Sometimes it's more social than if you were to go with just one or two mates, because
And it can be hard for kind of more introverted people,
absolutely
right?
it is difficult. And I had to really push myself because I was so closed off, no confidence, no self-worth.
So
And
wait, sorry if to interrupt there. So what would you say is like one tip for somebody who is closed off, who maybe is more of an introvert,
yeah,
and they're thinking, well, I can't face solo travel. It seems very difficult. What would you say to them?
I think there's a couple of steps that you can do. So the first one for me, I went straight into a volunteer placement.
Mm.
And so that's where I met a couple of people, and that's where I started to go, oh, there's people like me that want to help, which are good people.
Yeah.
And I get to know them, and that's a really comfortable environment. You're basically doing the same thing. Other things would be like doing like smaller group trips,
Yes.
joining onto a group trip as a solo traveler, being able to have a really cool experience with complete strangers. And once you have that experience, you're generally bonded by those experiences that you want to do it again.
Hmm.
Once you get past that, then you can say, okay, well, I'm just gonna fly here. And as your confidence grows, you could just turn up at any hostel and just sit in the bar and have a drink on your own. Someone will approach you and have a conversation.
I agree on that one. And I think I would say, for our audience, one tip I would say is going to hostels if you can find one with like a pool table,
Yes.
any kind of activities, like that's that one step easier to
Yeah.
making friends because at the bar, it's going to be easy-ish at a bar to
Yeah.
just to go up to somebody in a hostel. But if there's a pool table, there's a really good reason to kind of go, hey, do you want to have a game? You get that person, you say, okay, let's have a game of pool, and within a couple of minutes, you've got this point of interaction.
Yeah.
You have a game, whether or not you win or lose, you're winning in the long term, aren't you?
Exactly.
Because you're making a friend right there.
Absolutely. And I think what it's about as well is realizing that when you're in that experience, the other person's got a story to share as well. So be curious. If you're introverted, you're not happy to share, be curious about the other
That's a
people.
really good tip.
Because you can say, hey, like, what's brought you here? And they will share their story, and then they might ask you some questions, and it'll give you enough warmth to open up.
You can be an introvert, but you can have a lot of conversation because you can allow the other person to open up.
Yeah.
And that is
Yeah.
that is really powerful. And I think that's I would say for anybody who's trying to make friends of any capacity, if you're prepared to listen to someone else, like people are always happy to talk about themselves.
Absolutely.
And so if you're prepared to listen to them, that's going to put a smile on them for
Yeah.
their face.
Yeah.
They're going to be thinking, wow, they were prepared to listen to me.
Yeah.
And they're going to get a lot of value from that.
Yeah, and it goes down to that you have two ears, one mouth. So if you can ask a question, you can listen.
Yeah.
The other, like when sometimes you'll have a conversation with someone, and if you've talked more, you'll be like, oh, I had such a good conversation with that person. Like you actually feel that, and then like if you reflect on it and go, oh, I was the only one talking for much of it. But you still feel good because you're able to speak. So if you give other people that opportunity, they're going to feel good, and that's where you get that connection. So
Is there like if you were at a hostel bar and you were going to ask somebody a question after you've introduced yourself, what would a question that would spark a conversation? What would you ask them?
It really, I would guess it depends where the hostel is, like what's the environment. But there's a place in Vietnam called Muni. It's where they have like the sand dunes and stuff. It's a really quiet, sort of like
Yeah.
fishy village. And like I was there with my best mate, and we were just like sitting by the pool, and it would just be like small things like like who are you here with, or what's brought you here? Are are you like traveling the world, or are you just here for like a couple of weeks? And what do you do back home? Like, what's brought you here? Basically, just finding that initial thing out.
Yeah,
That answer will then lead you down many different directions.
I agree on that one. I agree on that. I think the reason somebody chooses to start traveling
Mm.
is usually one of the things that has had the biggest impact on them.
Yeah,
And so if you're showing interest in that, people are very happy to share that.
yeah,
And they're excited to share that. And they're proud of that, the thing that kind of pushed them over the edge to go, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna
yeah,
do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that was like, if that question was asked to me, my reason was I was just like out of a long-term relationship and I just couldn't handle that in stress environment. So I basically ran away from that problem.
Yeah.
But that completely changed my life as well. I've met so many amazing people. Like I left literally a year ago today is when I started traveling, and the amazing amount of people that I've met, the connections I've made, like I've been able to stay in Amsterdam for free. I've been able to go to like all these different places and have a couch if I need. And, so on the back end of solo traveling, you're making friends which are happy then to have you and host you. So you have the opportunity to meet more people, and have new experiences in new areas. And that's another really, really cool thing about it.
Okay, so on that note, you've got, you're saying that you've managed to save a lot of money because you stayed on people's couches,
Mm.
you've stayed in people's spare rooms. You know, how do you go about making sure that when you're going to go traveling, and you're stepping, outside of your home environment, that you have those friends like almost lined up? You
Yeah.
know, you've got those couches ready for you. You know, how are you broaching that conversation with people to kind of, because it can be sensitive, right?
Yeah.
Like, can I stay on your sofa? For some people, it can be like, no. But for some people, they're like, oh my God, come and stay. Like, I'm going to make you breakfast. Like,
Yeah.
and there is that scale. But yeah, so how are you asking people about that?
Yeah, I mean, it is tough. Like sometimes, like I've been in London and I've been like, oh, I'm flying out early morning, um, and is there a place? And then if there's not, you either stay at a travel lodge, like try and stay somewhere cheap, or you just stay at the airport. But majority of the time, the people that you meet along the way will like welcome you with open arms, and
Hmm.
you just have to be honest with them. You
Yeah.
say, look, I'm like, I'm up in Manchester. I'm going to be here for like a couple of days. Is it all right if I stay? For example, like with Amsterdam, I was just having a chat, being like, "Oh, I've always wanted to go to like the Netherlands, always wanted to see Amsterdam," and they're like, "Well, look, we're going away for 3 weeks. Do you want to come and stay?"
And that's the other thing is to say to if you open up a conversation with what are your recommendations in this area when they live there,
Yeah,
um, you get chatting with them, you get enthusiastic about where they live. Like a lot of people are going to go, oh well, if you're visiting, you should come say hi.
yeah,
Like, oh, well, let's go grab a coffee. Oh, well, do you need somewhere to stay? And that
mm,
conversation is going to come naturally.
yeah,
And I suppose that's something I suppose I would add is better to not ask come in don't come in too hot.
yes, yeah,
Um, Start that conversation, get them involved, try and get people involved in activities. I mean, one of the things I love to do is, I'll pick a country and I'll go, okay, well, I know these two different people.
yeah,
They don't know each other. Like, can I arrange an activity, put both of those people in an activity with me, and then I'm giving each of them a new friend.
yeah.
I get to see both of them, and that kind of group activity is just absolutely delightful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like that's it, right? You're having a shared experience with people,
Hmm.
and the more shared experiences you have with people, the more likely they are to open up. And the other thing as well with like if you're asking like to stay, people are proud of where they're from,
Yeah.
mostly.
Yes. Yeah. No,
Not
agreed. They
necessarily
are.
in the UK, but people just really are proud of where they're from. And if they're from a small village or a small town or whatever, they will show you. They'll
They
take
want
you
they want
out.
to show you that like their fish and chip shop is the best fish and chip
Yeah,
shop. They want to show
exactly.
you
Yeah,
that their like statue in the village is the best statue
yeah,
in any village,
yeah,
And yeah, no, you are right. They are proud of where they're from. And I tend to find when I ask people like, where's your favorite place in the world? I usually add the caveat, except for where you're from,
Yeah.
because most people would straight away they go like, well, I love my hometown, I love this, I love
Yeah.
that. Okay, so in terms of we were talking about kind of affecting people, you were telling me earlier in the week about your like thought with exponential influence um on mental health. Can you help a certain amount of people? Can they help more people? And
Yeah.
like how can you affect a lot of people quickly,
Yeah.
positively? Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. So I think what I was looking at is like the power of compounding. Like I was used in finance, so I used to look at compounding interest a lot,
Hmm.
and I was like, how could I apply compounding interest to people's lives if I was to
Yeah.
help one person? And so it works like a ripple effect, right? So let's say my travel experience has like changed my life, saved my life almost, right? And then I can share that with someone, and then that person shares it with someone, right? So just because I've done one thing and I've helped someone have the tools and resources to help someone else,
Hmm.
all of a sudden three people have been helped. Let's say I do that every year for the next 50 years. I'm just helping one person have a really cool experience, open up about mental health, inspire someone else. So dream, share, inspire.
Yeah.
I help 50 people over 50 years. But those 50 people help 50 people over 50 years, and they have 50 over 50 years. There's 125,000 people that you help just from one kind act.
One kind act a year.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
And to be honest, for like if you can influence somebody to influence,
Yeah.
that is far more powerful than just a small positive action.
Yeah,
If you can
absolutely.
prepare them to help other people, and they're going to feel rewarded from the fact they're
Yeah.
helping other people.
Yeah, and so my vision was originally just 50 people over 50 years, one person a year. Started up a fundraiser, so I've got £435 to help someone achieve a dream, which is pretty good, like for just a start out. Eventually, though, what I would love it to get to is if I have a bunch of ambassadors within the brand that would all have their own fundraiser, or would have a giant fundraiser for one. And let's say I've got 12 people who are going to help facilitate a dream. It's 12 people a year that we can help.
Yeah.
Right, and then those 12 can help 12. So easily, you'll easily be able to help 1 million people achieve a dream, and relatively low budget dreams. And eventually you could say, look, we're going to do a Kilimanjaro tour. Who wants to do Kili?
Yeah.
And come join. And we can have maybe 50% of that funded through the Dreamers Fund,
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing for me is I want to help people that didn't think it was possible. Right? Like if you've got a crippling fear of heights and you're never going to go skydiving, let's see if we can like talk you through the process. Like, what's your fears? How can we overcome those fears?
Yeah.
How can we show you the pathway to safety with it?
Yep.
And then you achieve it, and then you tell me your story of why you were so scared. How's it affected your mental health, and what the experience was like?
Yeah.
Because you tell that story.
How are they going to then be
Yeah.
able to explain that experience to someone else to inspire them again?
Exactly right. Yeah, it's just a triangle, and it came from, I don't know if you've seen like Catch 22 TV show or like read the book, but Catch 22 is like basically it's a war movie about this bomber, and he had I think 15 missions to start, and with the missions. He just hated it because like he was seeing his mates die and stuff like that, and he wanted to get out. And they basically said, if you all you have to do to get out of flying these missions is you have to be insane. And he goes, okay, well, I'm insane. He goes, well, no, you're not. Like, if you're insane, if I ask you, you're going to fly the mission, you're going to say yes because you're insane. A sane person would say, no, I don't want to fly the mission, which proves your sanity, which means you have to fly the mission.
Yeah.
So there's a Catch-22 cycle. So when I watched that, I was like, how can I apply a positive spin on Catch-22? And it was just dream, share, inspire. Help someone achieve a dream, share their story of them achieving a dream, inspire someone else to dream as well. Bang, bang, bang.
It's the loop. Okay, so I suppose last question
Yeah.
is if somebody's thinking about going solo traveling, what's a place you're going to recommend and why?
Yeah. Solo traveling for me has got to be Vietnam.
But why? That is
Why?
the question.
Yeah. So Vietnam, simply because the range of activities, opportunities to socialize are just crazy. If you want to go to Halong Bay, you can do it very privately and have a nice place, or you can join a group hostel tour and you can make so many friends instantly over just 2 days.
I mean, like, what's that going to put you back cost wise?
It was like 200 to $200. Not even,
We're
it's
talking US dollars here?
US dollars, yeah.
200 US dollars,
Yeah,
okay.
it's really cheap. Like the same thing with Hajiang Loop. That's a 4-day tour of North Vietnam on motorbikes, and every night you go into a hostel, you're having group family dinner, you're having karaoke, you're having their shots, happy water they call it, and it's every night is a really good night, and you're just making friends that literally, like I'm meeting someone next week that I met in Vietnam just to catch up in London, and it's such a good place. It's super cheap. You can live off five US dollars a day
$5
easily.
okay.
You can travel anywhere. You can do sleeper buses. You can fly places. If you want to go look at amazing beaches, you can go to Vietnam. You can go to the islands. If you want to go and look at the huge caves, they've got the world's largest caves in Vietnam. You can go in and have a 2-kilometer trek through a cave.
And so if you were to start a trip in Vietnam, where would you start?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I'd have to start in the north, I would say.
Okay.
So that would be like Hanoi. Simply because there's a bit more activities. I'd go north to south route.
Yep.
Because you can have some really cool experience up in the north. And as you come down south, it's a little bit more chill. You've got definitely some of the adrenaline adventures in Ninh Binh area, which is like more central. Beaches like Hoi An is just more peaceful, relaxed, stunning beaches. And then south you got Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City. And you can go to the Chu Chi tunnels and check out the Mekong Delta, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. I've not yet been myself,
Yeah.
but it's definitely high up on my list. And hearing everything about people go there and they'll bring a suitcase and they'll fill a suitcase full of like really high quality clothes because you're getting, you're getting you might be getting a jumper or a sweater for $100 here, then that same thing's going to be a couple of dollars in Vietnam.
Totally.
And so you were saying you got like tailored suits and stuff.
Yeah, so the first time I went, 2013, I went and I got 12 tailor-made shirts. I got 3 three-piece suits. I got 4 pairs of shoes made. And that was only 1,000 Australian dollars, so like £500 for all of that. I was a proper wardrobe, and it's funny. I gained weight, and then I lost weight, and I could like fit into the suits again. So I was like pretty happy.
Okay.
But I went back again last year, and got a couple more things made. Like whatever you want, they can make it in 2 days as well.
2 days. I mean, that almost makes sense. Like if you were going to buy an expensive wardrobe, you could spend the same amount of money and have a couple of weeks in Vietnam.
Exactly.
And have it all custom made for the same price of just buying those clothes in the Western world.
Yeah, I put it in perspective. When I got married, my 3-piece suit was $3,000, including shoes, and I could have flown to Vietnam for about 400, but it was in COVID time because my plan was to do this. I could have flown to Vietnam for about $400, return, got my suit made in 2 days instead of 3 months. And it would have been, made like if I went like top end, it would still been under $500, so it's a no-brainer. Like you could fit your stuff out with $20,000 worth of like clothing in like a real world for, a couple of $1,000s. The value is insane.
Okay. Vietnam it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got one last question. So we're at Surf Squad.
Yeah.
We're at the end of the week.
Yeah.
We've had a crazy storm come through. And, although we haven't surfed every day, we've surfed quite a few days.
Yeah.
Tell me about your experience. Tell me about how you found it and the people.
Yeah. People, as always, just amazing. Like everyone's here for a reason. Everyone's here to connect with people. Some are like regulars, others are first timers. But everyone's here to make new friends. Everyone's here to meet a stranger, and everyone's here to learn how to surf. And similar like in Snow Squad as well. You're there to learn or just enjoy the snow. And for me, it's like crazy. I grew up in Cornwall for 9 years, never surfed. Australia, like 15 minutes from the beaches, 21 years, never surfed. Really? So it's crazy that like the first time surfing at 30 is in Portugal. But that's the beauty of it, is the fact that you have an opportunity to go away with amazing people, really I was saying last night actually, like the bonds that you make with people, you're living with them for a week, and so the friendships that you make in over the course of a week might take 4 or 5 months in the real world.
Yeah.
And you do get really connected, and it's quite emotional. It's like saying goodbye to people and being like, I don't know the next time I'm going to see you, but I know for a fact I'm going to see you. And if there's an issue, if there's a problem, you've got me on the phone. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and it can take ages to build those sort of connections. And I think that's like a really cool thing to note, that in the real world, it's hard. Like, I guess, like in your everyday life, it's hard to make new friends. It
It
can
is,
be.
yeah, of course.
But here, you can just walk in, say hello to someone, share your story, and then you've got a friend for life.
I
And
completely agree. And I was talking to somebody earlier, and they were saying, like, you just grab a plate of food, you sit down at a table, and you just say, "Hi guys, can I sit here?" And within like 30 seconds, they've all introduced themselves and they've brought you into the conversation. You're completely included, and you just feel at home.
yeah,
And whether or not it's TTS or solo traveling somewhere in the world, like that travel community is just so welcoming.
yeah,
Because everybody's been there and everybody's in this, everybody's in the same shoes.
yeah.
Okay, so on that note, thank you for coming on the
No
podcast.
worries. Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it. It's been absolute pleasure talking to you. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Appreciate it.
Okay, sweet.